100-mile streets. So the surplus
There are I've been to I took like an entire summer after I walked.
Yeah.
That or congratulations. All right, everybody, going to go ahead and come to order here at 7:37. Great. Thank you, everybody, for coming out for the meeting. I know we've got two back-to-back here as far as the weeks go. So thank you to everyone for coming out. I do have initial amendment for our agenda this evening prior to its approval with the R1920-008 resolution to confirm. It's just going to be nominations and appointments, and we'll forestall the committees established. With that amendment to the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adopt the meeting agenda and the approval of the previous meeting's minutes that are on the YouTube. I have a motion for that? Motion. So motion is a seconded? Second, thank you. All those in favor, signify aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none opposed, motion passes. Thank you. This evening we are excited to have special guests. Our new Associate Dean and Director of the Graduate School, Dr. Shi. We are opening up the floor for him to give us a presentation about affairs within the graduate school and some plans. So with that, I'll turn the floor over. And Dr. Shi. Yeah.
So how are you doing today? Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Stephen Shi, and like Claire has introduced, I'm kind of fairly new in the position of Associate Dean and Director of the graduate school. And yeah, it's my honor to be here with the most talented people in the community. And then I really appreciate Clay and Lindy invited me to give you kind of share my ideas of the graduate education and research. And this is just my preliminary version of strategic plan. So I think one of the purposes I'm here is I like to gather feedback, input from grad students. And also I'm gonna flesh out this one and present it to the grad council, dean's council, and then so I'd like to gather the input and information from different angles. So I want to make it more comprehensive and then realistic. And so the first one may look ambitious, but I think I'm gonna eventually do the kind of set up the priority type, the focuses. Okay, so basically this is just a blueprint for the next few years that how the grad school can support, facilitate different initiatives and how to promote research. And so basically, I have five strategic focuses. The first one is the grad student recruitment. And then we're talking about the academic programs, master's programs, PhDs. And then we talk about the student support, student success, and number four, research. And then finally, we're talking about grad schools operations processes, how we're gonna optimize the grad schools processes. So why I have these 5 focuses, and allow me use an analogy as a manufacturing plant, because of my background is in manufacturing systems and then information technologies. So I'm thinking about the academic programs like some high-tech workstations. And then we try to train students. On one hand, students are our customers, but on the other hand, students are the products we want to produce, we want to make. Yeah, so recruitment is very important. How are we gonna recruit the best fit students? And then there's a support departments, support function, grad school is very important. So how do we optimize the processes of grad schools? I think that's very, very important. And then that's one of the important ingredients in the factory, that's research. And I think grad students research is gonna be your middle name. Yeah, you're gonna be either writing research paper, thesis, dissertation, or maybe grant proposals. Okay, and we're talking about student success, how we kind of support students and making sure that student success. So that's talking about the end product. Okay, so that's how we have this 5 strategic focuses. And then what's the spirit behind the strategic plan? Yeah, because only a grad school cannot do those, cannot accomplish, follow through those goals alone. So collaboration is the name of the game. Now partnership is essential. So basically, yeah, let me go to the next one first. So basically, in my plan, I have and will be collaborating with a number of the partners across campus, like for the international student recruitment, we're talking about CIE, Center for International Education, and talking about online programs, promotion. We talk about expanded campus, and we talk about CTE, Center for Teaching Excellence, and so forth. So there's quite a few partners of the grad schools. Okay, let's go back a little bit. And then, as I mentioned, this is going to be a work in progress because we need to give the attitude check. And so every so often, I'm going to be doing some feasibility analysis, just gathering feedback, input from students, from faculty, from staff. And because I don't have much time, so let me just go through a few slides, and then if you want to take a look at the details, I think Clay got the slides. Sorry. So let me just go through this one a little bit quicker here. So focus on grad student recruitment. So basically, I have 5 tasks. Okay, so this is not an exhaustive list. Okay, just currently on my front burner. And so first one, yeah, because I like to use my IT background and try to help the university to implement so-called e-marketing. So how we can best use the search engine, how we can best use our website design, and so forth. And then student recruitment, and then analytics, and how do we best use the data in banners, in Tableau, in other information systems, and then to perform some type of data analytics and help the university to identify maybe the recruitment trends and so on and so forth. And then international student recruitment is a big piece, and every item here is to help promote domestic student recruitment. But why I had specific box showing international grad student recruitment, because I'm gonna have a few projects with Dr. Andrew Carver and Center for International Education. This and next year, we might have a trip to a few countries next year. And then for graduate school, we try to increase the travel funding support. Just like for now, we have kind of a busy, there's a small amount of support for students going to conference. We're thinking about how we can increase the funding opportunity for students to do the research. And lastly, yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Slate. You know, Slate is it's a new system, CRM system. The SIUC has been implemented, and now still during the stage of the preparation data migration. So Slate is going to be the system that's going to be integrated into the recruitment process. Okay, so this is some detail here, and e-marketing recruitment, and student recruitment analytics. And I don't want to go through the details, but let me show you this one here. So this is just a high-level overview of so-called e-marketing, e-recruitment, and then enrollment. So we're talking about social media, because nowadays, I think almost every people got an account, got a Facebook account, Twitter, Instagram, so forth. So how we can best use those social media to increase the awareness of the prospects. And then we talk about data mining analytics, because this is also one of my expertise. So I'm gonna work with the enrollment management and then the office of IT, and maybe in the future we're gonna form a team to do more in-depth analytics initiatives, especially for recruitment, retention, and then and then website design, that's a very important here, and search engine optimization. Basically, this is try to increase the prospects. I mean, they kind of brought more attention from the company. And then I talk about database system. It's a kind of integrated system on the graduate school runs. And then, yeah, this is a slate items. I was gonna have the CRM system as a customer relationship management system. And this is the one of the examples. Like, okay, we get the data from Banner, that is a student information system. Tableau, that's another analytical system that SAU has been using. Then we generate some charts. So this is gonna be showing some hidden patterns like trends, association between demographic variables and so forth. So we try to derive some business insight and then maybe help the department to think about what strategies in response to those insights. Okay, and talking about analytical analysis, and this is one of the examples I got so far. My team and I has been making 2 reports, and this is one of the many slides. I think we got over 100 slides. So we kind of analyze the data, and we get a summary report by either gender, department programs, by ethnicity, and then by country, so on and so forth. And this is one of the examples here. This is showing the top 10 countries in terms of the number of enrollments. And we gathered data from 2012 to 2019. And you can see that India has been the winner for the past 8-9 years. And that's good news. But you can see that India has a big drop. Because at its peak, it's almost 334 students. And then most recently, we have 94 students. So we're talking about almost 72% drop. Okay, so I think the faculty, the deans, the chairs, need to think about what's going on here. What did we do good? What did we do bad in India? Okay, so that's one example here. And then the other, maybe it's on the bright side here. You can see that the student from the polls has some big increase, like up 52% from 12 to 19. So maybe we did something good in the polls. So that's a kind of get the enrollment team, recruitment team, some thinking. Yeah, so this is just one example of analytical chart. So we can help to kind of discover some hidden information here. And this is another example here. This one shows the data by college. And so you can see the blue, okay, the blue lines means that the bold means we include the data of undergrad and grad students. And then the red is only grad students and plus the school of medicine, school of law. And you can see that there's one college pretty much standing out. That is the College of Applied Science and Arts. So you can see that there's a jump 90% on the grad student. And if we take a closer look, you can see that in recent years they launched quite a few new master's programs like MHI. I think it's the Master of Health Informatics and MHA, Master of Health Administration and so forth. So maybe that's one of the strategic goals we need to focus. How are we going to launch more in-demand master programs and then not just programs? Okay, so this is just another example here. And the third insight, most of the grad enrollment decreases, but there's less severe than the undergrad enrollment. So maybe we're doing a better job in recruiting grad students. So that's a different example. And we're talking about different models, kind of accelerate the students' learning. So this is just a few examples here. And just like, okay, we're talking about some innovative, creative model, like for international students, we have sort of a 2+2+1. So like 2 years, the student got a baccalaureate degree at the Army University, maybe like in Japan, in French, in Germany, and then another 2 years in SIU, and then additional 1 year, and this student get a master's degree. So there's some creative, innovative models. The grad school is going to be working with different departments, but different departments of different nature. So that's not necessarily 2+2, 2+2+1 is going to fit every single one. Okay, and then as I mentioned, the academic programs like workstation and factory, and then so this is very important because why you come to SIUC. Okay, it's not because we have a campus lake, not because we have the arena here. So, but I think most importantly, we had a quality, innovative academic programs. So this is how do we sustain our grad program? That's very important. And so I have the task here. So here's the because I'm gonna be working with a different department to perform some of the SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis, and also try to identify the in-demand programs. And then how do we expand the online programs? And I think online program is going to be one of the very important strategic focuses. And then talking about the communication, information exchange between grad schools and then the various academic programs. And this is just some study research the data I gathered. So you see that for international students, I think it's also for a domestic student. What attracted you to this university? And you see that the top three priorities, first one, subject verification. Okay, so if I were a CS computer science student, I'm gonna be looking at the quality of that program in terms of faculty, curriculum, facilities, and so forth. And then overall reputation, SIUC is an R2 university. It's a high research activity university. And then in terms of ranking, it's about national ranking is about 150, so on and so forth. And then when you got your piece of paper, got a degree, and what is your marketability? So I think that's also the very important consideration. And then I'm talking about national trip. What are the top 10 best master's degrees? And so this is just one or two examples of my research because I have gathered tons of articles and information. So try to identify the most in-demand programs. Here specific top 3 year rehabilitation assistant, nurse practitioner, and then occupational therapy. So, and then here's another example for the top areas for growth. And you can see that there's air business, computer science, education. And then we're trying to target who are our customers, who are the audience. We're talking about traditional nurse. And then as I see senior undergrad students, there are also potential prospects. And then dual credit instructors, so for the high school teacher, they're going to be teaching the dual credit courses. So they need to get the 18 hours of the master's hours and online. And then there's some career accelerators, so someone on the job and so forth. And then for the active duty mentors, so those are some potential prospects. And then we talk about SIU here, so top 3 here, we have with the highest potential based on the research, which is so the market optimization assistance, and now we have a new BSN Bachelor of Science in Nursing, but MS in nursing gonna be something in the works. And then there's some other list of the potential, some of programs with the potential growth, like health, management, and information technology. So, but this is not an exhaustive list. This is based on the current programs we have in SIUC and based on the trends. And this is the two projects currently in the works. And the first one is dual credit online master's degree program. So that's we've been working with CNI, the curriculum and instruction and history and mathematics, and especially designed for the high school teachers. They're gonna be teaching the dual credit courses. And then the other one, I had a good conversation with the chair in automotive technology. So we're talking about autonomous car, driverless car, and there's and then there's a big demand of their advanced program side. they're thinking about automotive engineering or automotive science. And how much time I have? Let me just go through everything here. So just thank you. So how about 5 more minutes? Yes. Okay. Yeah. And then student support, I think that's something you are very concerned with. So there's a few areas that we think we could help students to follow through your dreams and objectives. So we're talking about new grad student support, professional development, and then we need to have the cohesive, the graduate career services, strategies, support. And then the website, the number 4. So we try to address the requirement of the HLC, the higher learning vision. We are in the process of beefing up our website. And obviously, that's students. Okay, so there's some details here about professional development, new grad students. Well, we're gonna be launching new workshops in different areas by helping students not to just know how to format and submit your dissertation and thesis, but in the meantime, we may work with the Vice Chancellor for Research, the Office of Vice Chancellor for Research, to help students how to write dissertations, research papers. So, okay, and then we talk about student grad school as a website enhancement, and let me give you one example here. So this is gonna be a new web page on the grad school's website. And you see that we have different categories. So this is very similar to one of the SIUC websites called Solution Finders. But this is more geared for the grad education, grad students. And so this is here under okay, research is very important, so we're trying to promote research through financial support. So I think this is very much a challenge. How do we use the limited resources and then maximize the resources and then provide more opportunity, funding opportunity for grad students? So this is going to be a challenge, but I think that's doable. So this is some ideas here. So when you go home, if you cannot sleep, just take a look at your going to sleep in 5 seconds. But just think about, is that off the mark or is that realistic? And so I just need to get the input from you. And then I'm thinking about, because we have a number of the research centers, institutions in SIUC, like Material Technology Center and many other, I think about 15. But how we can connect grad students with those research centers? Maybe we're doing internship, or we can have collaborative research projects. So this is one of the ideas in my mind. And that's how we connect the research center. And then this is just a few examples. This is something I'm gonna propose. So it's something new, but just need to take a look. We're gonna organize some research competition awards. And so this is one possible award. And then 3MT, we had this competition 3 years ago. That was a different theme, and I think they did it as a sort of a 3 minutes thesis. And I think this is going to be very fun. They're very interesting research. Okay, and talk about grad school optimization, and I think I don't need to go into detail, but there's some different levels that I want to optimize, streamline, integrate, automate our processes. So that's the bottom line is how we increase the efficiency of the grad schools and in terms of the offices. And so, and then we talk about total funnel recruitment, not just the starting point, not just from the prospect. The starting point is how can I have these prospects. So that's we need to best use our new information system like CRM. Okay, this is gonna be my last slide. We're talking about integrated data systems and in terms of the life cycles of student application, admission, enrollment, retention, so forth. And we should have a solid integrated system. And so that's just some idea. This is specifically for the grad schools. And so you can see that my strategic plan, some focuses is for the students, some is for academic programs, and some is for our own processes. But the bottom line is how can we achieve, enhance our research and then grad education. Okay, and I can take questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Let's set aside 10 minutes or so for questions. We'll do a maximum of 10 minutes of questions if we got that many. So with that, I'll open up the floor. I'll start one off. Well, thank you for coming and doing the presentation. It's really great. I know we start late at night, and that can be rough. But no, I see a lot of things in the presentation that, if I'm understanding it correctly, there's a lot of opportunities for graduate students to reach out and get engaged. There's that opportunity to collaborate and advise on how these plans move forward, and to really get involved and even just help out as far as advancing our graduate studies. So many in the room and many others not in the room would be interested in how they can get involved and how they can leverage that opportunity.
Yeah, that's something we need to think about, because this is first of all the strategies, and then the next step, how can I implement it? So I think we're gonna have more detailed implementation, and what is our game plan? So my next step is okay, once we settle those strategies, and then for each one, we need to lay out more specific. So how can I work with grad students? How can I work with faculty, grad? So I welcome you if you have any good ideas, or if you want to get involved in some research or even recruitment activity. Yeah, welcome to come to my office. That's not my discussion. Because I'm new. On one hand, I'm new. On the other hand, I try to be more creative, and I don't want to have a baggage of the past. And yeah, I consult with my presentators, the former deans. They got some good ideas, but I think, yeah. To me, I want to do my best, be flexible, be creative. So any idea, I really like to work with the students.
Yeah, firstly, thank you so much for coming and giving us the presentation about your vision for the coming few years. And just an idea, since I have been on this conference like for a number of years, I appreciated my experience. I really liked how this campus helped me to grow academically and professionally. I was thinking if the graduate school can come up with the idea of what we can name it, SIU Graduate School ambassador. And that ambassador can be graduate students. We can invite like people to apply. It could be like at the beginning, a process where like we can set a number of seats. And people apply for that. So we've got like a selection process. And then that in a way or another for me as a graduate student could be in like an informal support to the graduate school to represent them among students at campus and also out of campus. I know we have the graduate school council, that's like more formal structure. It's like more like institutional structure.
Yes.
But the team of the graduate school ambassadors can be like informal support, and they can also like make those one another comments, feedback informally, and reach out to the grad school. And then if there is any event with the grad school, so we can have them, we can ask for volunteers, we can, I mean, there could be like a number of ideas that can even come out from that group, what they can do to support the grad school.
I mean, that's so from my understanding, so the grad council, the key drivers are mostly faculty members, and 25 the key drivers are students. And I think maybe that's the more pretty much you function like our salesman, and then spread the words of and then one would have a price. I think that we can sit down and talk
Yeah, I got one. One of the biggest issues I think we need to be realistic about regarding recruitment is faculty. We've had, I mean, my department alone, when I started here, this is the beginning of my 5th year, we had 15 faculty members. We're down to 5.
Yes.
We're losing 2 at the end of this. Is there anything in your plan regarding advocating for rescuing these programs that are dying, that just because we can't get hired?
Yeah, I think you are not alone.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah, everywhere I went, the first complaints are understaffed. Then, so what department?
Philosophy.
Okay.
And I mean, if I were applying right now, I would not choose that program again.
Yeah. Just like you can see that workforce education, WED. Now, when I joined SIU, workforce education, this was a huge program. And now, can you imagine how many annual professors left? 0. They got only 2 NTT. And so that is very much a big challenge. And then as grad school, I think we can only be advocate. Yeah, because my boss is the provost, and she's the one in charge of the funding allocation. But from my position, I can help push, and then maybe making more awareness about the seriousness of this understaffing problems. Yeah, I think that's a very much a severe kind of dire situation here.
We've had one hire.
I have a question, yeah. How many lines have been open for hires in your department?
We had one.
Because that's like.
We had one professor last year who moved out. That was 3 lines that opened up. I mean, probably 10. I mean, or so. I mean, we got one hire my first year here, and we had to fight for it. As in, we had to occupy the chancellor's office.
Yeah, so that's I think the grad school can do is work with each department to identify the demand of your programs, and then maybe put some justification, kind of forecast talking about the demand.
Yeah.
And then we can ask for more money here. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
appreciate the question, and I think it's we hope the situation is going to be turning around because based on the data we analyzed, we could reach rock bottom in the next year or two. Yeah, but depending on which program we are talking about here. Yeah, so yeah.
All right. That puts us right at about 10 minutes there of questions. So go ahead and end it there, but I'm sure there's going to be a continuing conversation and more opportunities.
Yeah.
And if I understood correctly, you're all right to share the presentation with the council membership?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this only the beginning of our conversation. I'm looking for the ongoing dialogue with everyone.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I think if you were to analyze that, it kind of shows what they want this university to be. The
All right. Well, everyone, it's 8:17. Next item on the agenda is speakers from the floor. Do I have any requests for some time on the floor to make an address or announcement or comment? Some motion? And for our council this evening.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just gonna inform the council of some action items and some steps that I'm moving towards on a personal level, but I think would be informative for everyone else. But I not only do I serve on GPSC, but I also serve as the grievance officer for the Graduate Student Union. And I think it's really important that we and everyone in this room, think about ways that they can be advocates to students across campus. And so as the grievance officer, I'm often approached and kind of made aware of certain issues that students on this campus face. And one that's been alarming to me based on reports that I have received based on Graduate Assistants United is our incoming international students. Many didn't report this because they were fear of retaliation, but there was an alarming amount of people who did not get paid, their contracts didn't get processed, and they did not get paid that first month that they were here on campus. A pretty high percentage. And so I think that number might be upwards to like 140 plus contracts were not processed. 140 people had food scarcity. 140 people plus had uncertainty of their welfare. And then in the second period, after the second period or around there, it was around a number of 40 or so. That's not an exact number, but there's certainly, based on the department that reports to me, a still higher percentage of their students that were international students still did not get paid after 2 months of working on this campus. That's 2 months of food scarcity, that's 2 months of concern for their welfare, that's someone who just moved here to this country, had to pay those type of fees and expenses to move here, had to put down payments on things, had unforeseen costs on things like immunizations, fees through our Center for International Education that were unexpected. And truly, in some of the self-reporting I've heard, this isn't something that's new to this year. This is something that's been existing on this campus, but just did not create there's not been an awareness. And so I think that what I would like to do is advocate for these students. And so I'm reaching out and looking at a collaboration of and wanting to get those students' voices heard. So I'm trying to reach out to GAU, GPSC, and the International Student Council to collectively think of steps and goals that we might take to make this more aware campus-wide, so that resolutions, because these are all things, in my opinion, that can be resolved. If it's a matter of doing things earlier and sooner, creating clearer communication amongst departments so they can assist these students as they're processing them coming into this country and coming onto this campus, those are all things that can be resolved. The problems that are occurring, may not be with certain immediacy, like they're still going to have certain things that they have to deal with as far as financial insecurity. But certainly for students who are coming in, especially as we hope to recruit more international students in our future. This is something that as a campus, we should be aware of and want to support these students. But I've heard students confess to me in private conversations, and I won't disclose their name because they pretty much said, do not disclose my name. Because in their minds, they are just so scared of retaliation that they're not going to be renewed in their contract, that something that they're be seen as people who are rocking the boat and that they really love being here. But during their time here, the only ways they can eat, and this is a confession to me, was through the church groups that they were, a list of church groups that offer a meal a day was provided to them. And that's the only meal that they were able to eat for 2 months, was the meal provided to them by a church group. So they only were eating 5 meals a week, and the rest were just hoping that of the kindness of those who surrounded them. That they weren't able to pay their rent, that they were close to eviction, that they understanding of their landlords was on their side, because their landlord contacted the university and knew that they were supposed to be getting paid. So they had that, but there's a lot of other people who don't have that privilege. And so I just, if people in this room, have things, my thing is that I would like to kind of conduct one-on-one interviews, understand from a qualitative perspective the depth of what this problem might be and the results and impact of this problem, and then think of solutions of how we might prove that there is a problem. I think sometimes we have to do that for our administrators and our board of trustees, is the proof that a problem exists, especially when it's a population that doesn't want to come forward and say that there's a problem. So in my mind, an anonymous survey that can collect that quantitative data might be helpful as we prove and try to suggest the hard numbers of what this impact does. And I know that based on reports that have been given at Graduate Council, that our numbers of certain international student populations have dropped. And sometimes I'm curious if this is in direct correlation. If that word of mouth saying, you can come here, but you just won't be able to eat for the first 2 months that you're here. You can expect not to get paid. I know the person that came to me and came forward and confessed what they experienced said that was his word of mouth. That I'm happy to be here, but just know that if you come, you have to make a financial plan to not eat potentially for up to, for him personally, it took him 3 months to eventually get paid as an individual. But that individual represents a greater population, because there's that one, that means that there's probably others. So I'm going to be forming that and processing that, and that's certainly one of my goals. And I'm going to be very straightforward that I'm also looking at filing a group grievance for international students as part of Graduate Assistants United. And the way that works has to be, so a grievable act has occurred, that try to get them reimbursed for any sort of overcharges that they might have experienced because of this lack of a contract being in place. So, if you go back to your departments, if you know students who've been affected by this, in your individual departments, please have them reach out to me so that I can maybe include them into that interview process, but also see if I might be able to assist them in getting some of that reimbursed to them if they saw any loss of funds. But also, because I think that there's always a strength in numbers of those who can come forward and say, yes, this is a problem. Oh, yes, and this wasn't, I should note too, that this wasn't just international students. They saw the largest portion of that, but even domestic students were having problems. So there was even a few domestic students that weren't seeing contracts processed in a timely manner. So if you also know those students, domestic students or international students, they're welcome to approach me, let them know. And then, like I said, I'm part of GAU, which is the Graduate Student Union. I serve as the grievance officer, and so this is what I do. I allow them to go through a formal process with the university to ask them for any sort of funds that might have been lost to be made whole. Any questions, comments on what I've stated? I just hope that you all participate by reaching out to any international students that you might think have been affected.
I will add, this is an ongoing conversation between the three of us as officers of GPSC. We've had a number of little meetings about it, talking about where GAU wants to go with this, how to incorporate the other constituencies in a meaningful way, valuable way going forward, and how in GPSC specifically we might be able to build a mechanism that adds some value, empowers persons to make a difference in the needs that they have. And so one of the things that we've talked about is helping out any way that we can, potentially with even some funding for the costs of survey work that might go on out of some of our executive board funding, as well as thinking about how this might fit in with either an ad hoc or a subcommittee or even a new constitutional board. We're going to kick around and trying to bring in more of the student affairs sort of a division. So all of the other aspects about students being in a university that aren't a part of academic programs, but are nonetheless as equally important for them as human beings to meet needs and have the things that they need provided as a part of everyday life while they're at a university. To try and figure out those ways that we actually incorporate that in a more direct way within GPSC. What we do. So this is something that we will probably continue to hear some business on, and we'll contemplate action going forward on. I thank Diana for taking leadership over this, not so much necessarily even within just GPSC, but also the Graduate Assistants United and the work that the union is doing on this as well. And I'll just echo what Diana said, and then encourage you to speak to those peers of yours in your programs. Be that listening here, and encourage folks to reach out to the resources that they have that can act as an advocate and connect them with whatever it is that they might need. We are happy to do so. I know that the union is, and I know that many on this campus are as well. There's no request for further time. We'll move to the next agenda item, which is our new business. We have 3 resolutions coming out of the fee allocation board this evening, correct?
Correct.
All right, and for the sake of our timeliness on this, I was going to run this very much like a chair of the legislative action. So it looks like everyone has a resolution for this, correct?
Yes, there, you can see the resolution numbers on top, so it goes, it might be out of order, should go,
Yeah, we will start with
5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, we'll start with Resolution R 1920.005, Resolution for Fund, reading, a resolution for consideration by the Graduate Professional Student Council on Tuesday, October 8, 2019. Whereas the Graduate Professional Student Council may designate a portion of its funds for allocation to registered student organizations for the purposes of supporting student activities, and whereas the allocation board is authorized by the Graduate Professional Student Council to supervise the allocation of funds available to graduate professional registered student organizations. And whereas on September 23rd, 2019, the fee allocation board received an application from the Zoology Graduate Student Association, hereafter RSO, requesting $2,000 to support Darwin Week. And whereas having held a hearing with RSO on October 8th, 2019, in which the qualifications and eligibility of RSO's stated uses for the funds requested and anticipated benefits provided by the programming were considered, the fee allocation board submits to the Graduate Professional Student Council the recommendation of $1,500 be allocated to RSO in support of this application. Therefore, be it resolved, the Graduate Professional Student Council, having heard this evaluation recommendation and statement of facts, hereby authorizes the for use during this academic year and according to the agreements made with the fee allocation board, the transfer of funds be made to RSO in the amount of $1,500 and authorizes the President, the Graduate Professional Student Council to take all action required in the execution of this resolution in accordance with GPSC established policy. And I would submit to the Council this motion for a resolution fund. The floor over for discussion to Chair of the fee allocation board, Diana.
So let me go ahead and get organized here. Sorry, I'm just going to read off their. So you would have received an email from me this afternoon with all the applications for the resolutions that are being presented to you. So the Zoology Graduate Student Association holds their Darwin Week February 10th through the 14th. This is a week-long series that will consist of events like student symposiums, a smaller lecture series that promotes women in science, movie that was featured on PBS, as well as art contests and activities, plus a keynote address. What they primarily asked us for is the fee for the speakers honorarium. They're looking at bringing in 2 separate speakers. And they have been able to get and obtain $2,000 in funding. So the overall expected cost of that speaker series plus hotel reservations, travel expenses is estimated to be a total of around $4,000. They've secured $2,000. They requested from us $2,000, but they're also going to be approaching USG. Since they are an organization that's mixed with both undergraduate and graduate students, know that they do have the opportunity to approach USG for additional funding and that they have the timeline to do so. We did want to support the event, knowing that they did have the opportunity to fulfill the total achievement of $4,000 as the overall goal. So with our contribution of the $1,500, that would bring them to $3,500, and then they would just have $500 remaining. That easily could be requested from USG, as well as any additional fundraising that might take place to make sure they have a successful event. So that's how we came to our totals. But I'm happy to tell you a little bit more about the event if anybody has any questions.
Questions?
What was our support for them in the last few years?
Sure. So we have done, so last year we provided to this particular event, or we provided to the zoology RSO $850. That was with the understanding that they would have the opportunity to come back again. So we provided that in the fall, and then they, so that was the value given, the mindset of having that kind of be doubled. But they never came in. They were able to find other resources. In the fiscal year 18, we provided them $1,700 towards this event. And then overall, as the zoology RSO at FY17, we provide them over $2,700, and then FY16 we provided them $2,344. But that was for a collection of various events that they had during the academic year. Any other questions from the floor? Now note, all that was requested for this event was $2,000 for this particular event.
So do we expect them to apply again with another?
If they have another event, they are welcome. They do have the opportunity to apply again. I know that in the year, fiscal year, for example, fiscal year 18, they did apply for a separate event and also grouped that event with anthropology, which they received $1,000 for. So beyond just that Darwin Week, that year they also received collectively another $1,000 to put on another event in the spring.
If there's no further discussion, we move to a vote. Seeing none, we will call the question. Request all those in favor of approving resolution as written. Please articulate so by saying aye.
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 Any of those opposed, same sign. Seeing none opposed, motion passes. Next item of business is another resolution to fund R1920.006. Resolution for consideration by the Graduate Professional Student Council on Tuesday, October 8, 2019. Whereas the Graduate Professional Student Council may designate a portion of its funds for allocation to registered student organizations for the purpose of supporting student activities, and whereas the fee allocation board is authorized by the Graduate Professional Student Council to provide the allocation of funds available to graduate professional student registered professional registered student organizations. And whereas on September 27, 2019, the allocation board received an application from the American Fisheries Society subunit of SIU, hereafter RSO, requesting $264 to support their hog roast. And whereas, having held a hearing with the RSO on October 8, 2019, in which qualifications and eligibility of RSO stated uses for the funds requested and anticipated benefits provided by the programming were considered, the allocation board submits to the Graduate Professional Student Council the recommendation $200 be allocated to RSO in support of this application. Therefore, be it resolved, the Graduate Professional Student Council, having heard this evaluation, recommendation, and statement of facts, hereby authorizes the use during this academic year and according to the agreements made with the fee allocation board to transfer of funds to be made to RSO in the amount of $200 and authorizes the President of the Graduate Professional Student Council to take all action required in the execution of this resolution in accordance with GPSC's established policy. I've read the motion. It's before the floor. Chair.
Yes, so the American Fisheries Society subunit of SIU will be hosting their hog roast, which is an annual event at the end of the month on October 26th. In the past, they have received up to 75 people and hoping to reach even more people this year with 90 plus as they were expanding their reach or the difference in schools. They promote this primarily as a recruitment opportunity for those who are hoping to expand into this particular field of interest. And they certainly invite and expand out to the schools of zoology, School of Natural Science and Wildlife, and are also using this as an opportunity for fundraising so that they can allow their undergraduate students to attend conferences and promote their growth as a professional moving forward throughout their academic career. And you can see, or if you see that attachment, this would have been, they did already receive $250. The overall cost of this event is $700. They've already obtained donations in the amount of $250. And they do have opportunities for donations at the door. Those donations, though, don't really go to supplementing the cost of the event, but are the fundraising opportunities that go towards creating awareness for their undergrads to go to conferences and attend. There was one that they listed. I unfortunately did not write that down. That is a particular conference that they send their students to. But
it's the American Fisheries Society annual conference, and they also have the Midwest, the Illinois variation.
Thank you. That's only because I knew it was something so affiliated with their name, but I just forgot to write down the exact.
American Society is a nationwide organization of all different.
Yes, and so that's what that additional estimated revenue for the event goes towards, not the actual supplements the event itself. And so I know that they did make other attempts to gain donations, but had some limitations of people to make those requests of USG. But the attempt was there. But they had originally just asked of us $265. Last year when they presented this event, this was the first time last year was the first time they presented this event with a request towards event funding and received $50. I should note that it was a very last minute request and it wasn't as well organized or as well pitched last year, and so they were able to kind of give us a little bit more of an understanding of who it reaches, how they promote the event, how it serves as recruitment and retention amongst their both undergraduate and graduate students, and also kind of creates a networking opportunity amongst faculty and researchers who both represent the graduate and undergraduate student body. But the new elements of how it also serves as a fundraiser to promote the advancement of career opportunities and education was new this year. So there were some certain things that kind of lifted our desire of giving to the 200 level.
Any questions? Resolution to fund? Seeing no questions, we're ready for it. Ready, folks? All right. All those in favor of approving the $200 recommendation as called by this resolution, please articulate so by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. All right, motion carries. Last piece of business from our fee allocation board is resolution 1920.007, a resolution to fund. A resolution for consideration by the Graduate Professional Student Council on Tuesday, October 8, 2019, whereas the Graduate Professional Student Council may designate a portion of its funds for allocation to registered student organizations for the purposes of supporting student activities, and whereas the allocation board is authorized by the Graduate Professional Student Council to supervise the allocation of funds available to graduate professional registered student organizations. And whereas October 3rd, 2019, the allocation board received an application from Critical Forum C4, hereafter RSO, requesting $1,000 to support their 13th annual juried exhibition, my apologies. And whereas having held a hearing with RSO on October 8, 2019, in which qualifications and eligibility of RSO, stated usage for the funds requested, and anticipated benefits provided by the programming were considered, the fee allocation board submits to the Graduate and Professional Student Council the recommendation of $400 be allocated to RSO in support of this application. Therefore, be it resolved, the Graduate and Professional Student Council, having heard this evaluation recommendation and statement of facts, hereby authorizes for the use during this academic year, and according to the arrangements made with the allocation board, transfer of funds be made to RSO in the amount of $400, and authorizes the President of the Graduate and Professional Student Council to take all action required in the execution of this resolution in accordance with GPSC policy. The floor is yours.
All right, so those who may not be familiar with this RSO, the Critical Forum C4 represents both graduate and undergraduate students from the School of Art and Design. This provides an opportunity to raise to the esteem of a juried exposition. And so this will be their 13th annual juried exhibition, and it will take place at the end of this month, beginning of next, October 29th through November 1st, at the Surplus Gallery at the Glove Factory. In the past, this event includes, this is a somewhat of a week-long event for those who are part of this organization and members of the School of Art and Design. It includes a lecture as well as a week-long visitation to the gallery, plus an evening and reception that honors those who were selected as top artists. Top artists include undergraduates, graduate students, as well as local artists from including a 100-mile radius from Carbondale, Illinois. That's something that's new this year, hoping to raise the esteem of the submissions and the artists that they invite. This year, they're going to be bringing in a individual to serve as the honored judge, as well as the lecturer and curator of the museum, and his name is Rusty Freeman. And so he'll serve and present a 1-hour lecture on the Monday of the event, and then also review all submissions and curate those who are the finalists. And I don't know if I provided numbers for this event, but the lecture itself is done in Guyon Auditorium and usually brings upwards to 100 individuals. The reception and evening of the event brings 100 plus, and the overall flow and interest of population that comes through the museum during the week of this exhibition is upwards to 200. Primarily what we were asked for is to assist with the visiting honorarium for Mr. Freeman. The overall estimated cost in general for both the honorarium for the overall event itself was around $2,000. They did mention that the department themselves will be taking care of 500 of that budget, and that their own RSO has raised funds for promotional materials. And then we did have some other line items that included food and beverages at the event, reservation fees, which were a total of 300. One thing that was not fully disclosed but was disclosed is that they have been allocated funds from the fine arts activity fee, but they didn't know the exact amount, or the presenter didn't, so that gave us kind of that wiggle room, not knowing what they potentially had pending. And so all they had requested from us was $1,000, and based on the other potential estimated revenue, that's where it kind of put us in that frame of a safe giving of 400. But looking at what we've given them in the past, last year they presented this to us after the event, and so we gave them 300, but fiscal year 16 we gave them $500 for this event. Does anybody have any questions regarding the event? I know some people may not be familiar with this type of event.
Seeing no discussion, no questions, Chair, vote.
Pleases me.
All right. So all those in favor of approving the $400 recommended to critical form C4, please articulate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you much. What was it? 46. All right, we have one more piece of new business for this evening. It is a resolution to confirm nominations and appointments. It is R1920.008. It is the appointment of, well, the approval of the nomination for consideration of appointments of a number of persons for our university committees, and the recognition of appointments to our fee allocation board, and the appointments of our members to the executive board and to our constitutional committee. I'm happy to read through this. I don't know exactly how I want to handle the names of every single individual. I don't know that I want to read the names of every single individual. I don't know that that's.
We waive the reading.
I would entertain a motion to waive the reading.
I'm going to motion that we waive the reading, and that I trust everyone in this room to be capable of reading it themselves.
There is a motion to waive the reading of resolution R1920.008, resolution to confirm. Motion has been seconded. Matter is on the floor for discussion, and we're calling the question. Calling the question is moving immediately. Let's do that. Call the question. Is it seconded? Seconded. All right, we'll move to a vote. To waive the reading of resolution R1920.008. All those in favor, please articulate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Seeing none opposed, motion to waive the reading of resolution R1920.008, resolution to confirm, has been approved. Any discussion of the resolution itself? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to call the question. Move to immediate vote. So moved. Second. Yeah, second. All right. All those in favor of approving resolution 1920.008, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none opposed, resolution passes. Thank you very much, everyone. All right. Moving along the agenda, what do we got? Officer reports. Excellent, excellent. Floor is yours, Vice President for Administrative Affairs.
All right, so with the resolution passing of the three that were presented this evening, we have now given a total of $6,825 towards event funding, and we have $7,175 remaining. We do have a potential pending proposal for next time. So we will continue having those. If you know that you have an event coming up, please make sure you always apply for those earlier than later. And then as far as travel funding, I did not have those exact totals. I know we have about 1,000 pending, which would put us at about $4,000 paid out, or 3,700 paid out, and about 13,800 remaining, based on what I see pending. But that's not the exact number. Apologies. That's about it. Nothing else I can think of right now.
Any questions? Comments, requests?
I did have questions. I have had a few questions, though, come up about where to find our applications. So if you go to the general SIU webpage and just type in GPSC, that will also take you to a link to our general page for GPSC. That's where you can find the meeting minutes, all that information, all that good stuff regarding GPSC. And then with that good stuff, you will see the fee allocation board tab. Click on that and you will find our application forms, both for our event funding, which gives a little bit more detail of what's required to make that request, as well as our travel funding, also known as our Career Development Reimbursement Award. And so to apply for that, you can be a law student and apply for that. So if you're attending a conference, you can apply for that prior to attending the conference. You just need proof of registration or just financial investment and that you are planning to attend that conference. Other resources, as Dr. Shi mentioned, are across campus. Some of your departments offer that opportunity, but I believe the graduate school, is the graduate still offering a small amount of money towards travel funding as well? Yeah. So the resources are there.
How are those funds delivered to you? When they give you just check the.
They give you a check.
Okay.
So for most, I mean, most people, that it's processed too. So usually just say full time. We process it with our accountant. If you're an international student, that then has to be processed through the International Tax Office. Then you're not, that goes to accounts payable, and accounts payable then goes to our United States Postal System, and then they send you a check right to your door.
So about 6 months later.
I mean, I usually say 6 weeks later. Yeah.
So it's thanks.
45 to 60 days is our
That's what we,
standard time.
That's
Yeah.
short.
it really just depends. Like, I think our, for our international students, it usually does take a little longer. For our domestic students, that process is a little faster.
You know, we should clarify, I guess, too, that it's 45 to 60 days once it's been processed for payment out of our accountant's office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it goes to counter. That's all.
some preamble to it. No more questions? Keep moving along.
Yeah. Excuse me. Just one idea. Firstly, thank you so much for doing a lot of work with those like solutions and laying out everything. But I was thinking if it's possible for future, if we can add at the bottom like a small table where how much we funded the same event in the last 2 or 3 years. That even can help to see where we are in funding the same event like in the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, I really appreciate that you say that in the beginning, but I thought it would be like easier if it's like a small table just at the end, the year and the amount of supporting that event in the last like 3 to 4 years. If that's possible. I don't know.
Sure. Is it still on my corner then? Does anybody else have any recommendations on the floor for also other improvements to the resolution? This is something that was just added literally last week. So there's I know we talked about adding the attachments of the applications themselves, and then setting that out prior to the meeting. So having that information, if it's someone who's been given funds, sometimes it's a new organization that doesn't have a past history of giving. And being that I've sat on the fee allocation board, I have those numbers back to fiscal year 16, and I've sat on the board that whole time, so I can give you also background of what those meetings look like. And sometimes the numbers themselves don't tell the story, if that makes sense, on that history of giving. But I can certainly add that. Any other, I know some edits were suggested by Lindy, or some typos and things like that that need to be corrected. Anything else to help that process for understanding event funding? But I can certainly add that.
I will go ahead and move us forward to the next item, report from the Vice President of Graduate School Affairs.
Thank you. As usual, any graduate council members, if I miss anything that you find relevant, please make sure that you jump in and make sure I haven't missed anything. And also thank you, Emily, for giving my announcement last week. I appreciate that. So Chancellor Dunn just mentioned a few stories last week about his trips to China recently and meeting about his experiences of online classes. So he entertained us for a little while at the beginning of the meeting, but he did also mention our Whitkeeper searches that are coming up and happening right now for our new president and chancellor, which you'll see an announcement at the bottom of the agenda for student government representation for the Whitkeeper meetings that are coming up starting tomorrow. So I don't know, we're going to mention a little bit more detail about that later. Okay, so I'll leave that for Feb. From our provost, Kamaraju, did mention a couple things that I thought were helpful to know. That recently they've made sure that they have a full house of recruiters and admissions, so they're actually moving forward and making sure that they have everyone that they need for all regions to make sure that they're doing a strong push for recruitment. Again, because we know that we're trying to not only retain but gain some ground on actual recruitment processes. Also, she gave a thank you to anyone who helped at the SIU days. So if you were one of those people, I want to make sure I extended that thank you all the way to the actual participants or people who have helped in those programs. And there's 2 upcoming open houses. So feel free to jump in with your departments if they need your assistance to help recruit some additional students. We did have a presentation from our Vice Chancellor for Research, and I did receive a copy of the PowerPoint. I'm going to be honest and say it was not so easy to read. So I tried to come up with some information, but it was a little difficult. But if you're interested in seeing it, I did get approval that I can send it to all of you. So if you're comfortable with that, I can do it. That way you can kind of see it a little bit better. Because if I put it up here, it would have been very difficult to read, as I know that the graduate council members can attest to. A couple of highlights, though, is that so we are R2 research institution, and so he did highlight a lot of information about how we compare to other R1s, R2s. In addition, mentioned how we often compare ourselves to SIUE, but we actually have a different research designation than SIUE. So while we could compare, we're actually different types of research institutions. So something to think of there in case you hear people do that a lot. Currently, or as of the most recent data that's out there, which is actually like a year, I think, or 2 ago, we were ranked 198 out of about 1,000 research schools, so pretty good, top 22-ish%. Our prior year ranking to that was 195, so we did go down, but only a few spots. And also, when you look at the chart that I will make sure we can send out via GPSC, the slide does have us kind of mixed in with R1s. So it kind of shows you that we kind of are still in good standing with, even though we're comparing ourselves to all the different types of research institutions, we're still doing pretty well in that comparison. Throughout the slides, there's a lot of information about details about how much millions of dollars we're accumulating and how we're using that money in research. So that's something if you're interested in looking at. I would definitely recommend looking at it. Let me know if you have questions, because again, all the graduate council probably followed it. It was just hard to actually see the details of the numbers. So yes, so I think that is, yes, all of that, but it was a good presentation. I think it was helpful for my understanding of where our money is going and coming from for research, and also helps me have a good understanding of how we're comparing to general research institutions. So I will make sure you get that information, but I did not want to send it out before I gave you this announcement, because I felt like that would not be helpful. So now you have an idea, and now I will have it sent out so that you can actually see what I'm talking about. And the last couple of things that are relevant is that we did do a first reading on a resolution that allows our academic programs to select an internal reviewer. And what a first reading means is they bring it to the table. I can't remember if I've described this before, so we do first readings, second readings, and the second readings is when we vote. It's very similar to how we could do it in our governing body. So we did talk about that, which basically just means that we're willing to let departments kind of put up for nomination for our department review someone from their internal department to make it a little bit easier on the graduate council instead of having to select people. So that was a first reading. There was a second reading, and we did vote yes for a resolution for a no-show grade designation. And what that means is, for all of you who have been instructors, you know that there's a no-show designation for your undergraduate students. That actually just didn't exist for grad students. So if a graduate student never showed up to class, there was no way to designate that had happened. So now that does exist, so that was voted on. And then we did have a couple of readings for, and I think I've said them before too, but NUIs are new units of instruction. So these are new programs that are being proposed. And we had another one for an RME, which is a reasonable and moderate extension, meaning there's an adaptation of a program. So the NUI that was the first reading was for a Master's in Science Masters of Science in Cybersecurity and Cyber Systems. So that's being, and actually I think we voted, that was voted on as well. Rules were suspended so we could vote, and it was approved. So that master's program is moving through. And then there was a first reading for an RME for a certificate in rehabilitation counseling. And that was just the first reading, and so we're reading that again. And then there was also a resolution for a NUI, again, a new unit of instruction for a Doctor of Medical Sciences, which felt highly contested in the group. And so we are, I think that what they mentioned, they'll get additional information. So if you have thoughts on the RME for rehab counseling, which was not final voted on, we didn't final vote on that one. That was just the first reading I have in my notes. Okay, good, everyone's like, yes. So if you have any thoughts on the certificate for rehab counseling that you'd like a graduate council member to know, or if you have information that you'd like us to know about the Doctor of Medical Sciences, feel free to share that with any of us. Mainly again, because that NUI for the Doctor of Medical Sciences seemed very contested in the group. So I want to make sure that we put that out there, that you know that we are representing and trying to make sure we understand what's getting voted on in that space. And I believe that is all my announcements. Did I miss anything, council? We feel like we covered it?
I think you did well. Just
Thank you.
one.
Yeah, I'm looking at everyone that was there. Yeah.
So I still remember one of the highlights was that we are two research schools, but I think we're still at the top third.
Yes.
Of that R2.
I did have that in my notes.
Okay.
No,
maybe you said that. I don't know.
I didn't actually. It's actually highlighted too.
Oh, thank you.
So that's
Okay.
a good catch.
Thank you.
Yep, that is correct. Anything else?
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, as I'm listening to the reports from our officers, this meeting was tough to arrange, but yeah, hearing your reports, sorry, I just really squeezed the officer reports for time this time in the meeting. So sorry for that. Thank you for getting those reports as efficiently and effectively as you can with the time that you were given. For my report, I'm going to try and be as brief as I can. Quick announcement, I submitted an activity report for GPSC to the Alumni Association Board of Directors for their upcoming board meeting that is October 18th. I will be attending that board meeting. I can provide everyone that activity report if so requested. Again, mentioning that idea of the Student Affairs Focus Committee, thinking about student wellness, security rights, diversity and equity, campus community affairs, programming, support, and communications. Some of the things that you can consider on that. The executive board, as we begin our work in the next 2 weeks, we'll begin kicking around those ideas. If anyone has any kind of recommendations or suggestions or ideas, please do share those forward. On the back of everyone's agenda, I believe, should be the announcement for the campus conversation that is scheduled October 16th, 3 to 4, in the Kaskaskia room. Student trustee Lockett is hosting board chair Judge Bill Gilbert for that campus conversation. To spread the word, and we encourage you to attend. Two real big announcements that are also, one of which is on the agenda, is that meeting with the Whitkeefer consultant for student government representatives this Friday, October 11th. It's at 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. in the Student Services Building, rooms 150, 160. I encourage everybody that can make it out, even if it's only for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, do swing by. Think about if your time is limited, or if you have no time, even the idea that potentially submit a written recommendation. You can send that via email to me, and I will take it to the consultants and give that to them. You can come by and submit it yourself. You get that FaceTime with the consultant and hammer that point home. Feel free to send someone in your place to represent the Student City program if you can't make it. And for those programs that we don't have council representatives for, I will be reaching out to encourage persons in those units to send any graduate student representative that they can to speak on behalf of those programs, either in person or again in writing. This is a great opportunity to articulate what it is that we would be looking for in a chancellor at the university as graduate and freshman students. So again, that's this Friday, 10:30 a.m. Student Services Building 150, 160. If you have any more questions, feel free to share them. Again, I wanted to hit on, I believe I announced this in our meeting last week. There has been an internal search launched for a Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs and Provost. I got that email last week, a week ago today. the solicitation for nominations for the consideration of appointment to the search advisory committee for that have been made. I have the deadline of October 18th to submit our nominees for consideration to that search advisory committee. So if you're interested in that, reach out. I'm also going to be attending a meeting at the request of some other constituencies to discuss that search. I believe that meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, is what I have on the report here. Just in general, talk about the search, I guess. Just responding to the request for a meeting. And then the other thing I had announced in our last meeting that I was going to do a presentation of some strategic objectives and plans for GPSC this year. I bumped that to the meeting that we'll have on October 22nd, our next meeting. And so we'll present some of the ideas that we have for GPSC this year in that meeting. I believe that that's all of the key things from the report that I brought for this evening. I'll take any questions, rather comments, inquiries, requests, nominations, what have you. Seeing none, move on to committee reports. So I believe I got this out with the solicitation email for announcements and other materials last week. I attached a couple of reports from Campus-wide Assessment Committee. Maybe I sent that out with the meeting reminder. I can't remember what days.
Yeah, I think it was not last week, but I think it was the one that was sent out
Monday. Okay, yeah, that would make sense because I think the second meeting was Monday. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's yesterday. That was yesterday. Awesome. So the big thing that I wanted to key on in this, I'm not going to go over these reports. You have them as written. Please review those. Any questions you have, I'm happy to respond to those either in the course of a meeting or by email. But typically I submit my committee reports as written. They give a pretty decent summary of the key parts of the meetings themselves. But one of the parts I wanted to hit on was from the meeting October 7th. So it's Monday, about the 3 feedback mechanisms relative to the Higher Learning Commission re-accreditation assurance argument and site visit that the campus is going to be going through. And we'll get more information as we get closer to the site visit, which is in February for this. But just to put it on everyone's radar, we covered some of the specifics, and there will be a little bit more to come from this. But the feedback mechanisms right now, our assurance argument draft is on the website for the Associate Provost for Academic Programs, and you can actually review that yourself and submit some comments. There's just basically a comment review box, and in the report itself for this committee report, that link, all of those links should actually be active, so you can just follow those. And so you can take a look at those, submit a comment as a student on a sub-criterion or whatever aspect you want. Another key aspect is that we will be solicited for a student survey as a part of the formal process from the Higher Learning Commission. The exact timing and details of that are to be provided, but essentially the Higher Learning Commission requires the university to solicit through a formal survey of its students some feedback that becomes a part of that report. It is the Higher Learning Commission survey of students, and the university is just essentially proxying the report or proxying the survey for proctoring the survey. That's for the Higher Learning Commission. I've been told it's not very long. That I think I heard correctly that it was only 7 to 10 questions. But the dates will still be coming. It'll be something that's distributed through our Student Affairs Division. And as we learn more, we'll have more on that. There's also a third-party comment mechanism from the Higher Learning Commission. Again, that link is active in the report itself. That is a way for really anyone, a third party, to make some commentary that doesn't necessarily have to do with the assurance argument that our university has written. It can be any information that a third party, a student, a staff, a community member, whomever, has pertinent on this, perhaps, has pertinent information they feel is important for the Higher Learning Commission staff review panel that will come to the university to know as a part of their evaluation and reaccreditation process. So that is something that's actually submitted directly to the HLC, either through mail or through, I think you can email it, or there's a portal, but it literally has a mailing address, which is a pretty third-party comment mechanism if you're submitting something via mail. That was all I really had from those committees. Like I said, you have that written. If there's any questions on those, perhaps something we might table with the time.
Can we get different pizza?
Yeah, good of the order. Yeah, if there's any recommendations for things like that, pizza, whatever, yeah, feel free to share them. Yeah, I ordered the pizza this evening. Apologies.
I seconded it, so you don't blame me too.
I didn't try to get the second on the order. I didn't thought about it like that. Yeah, I mean, we'll order what you want. Well,
Be careful with that language.
yeah, withdraw the previous statement. We'll discuss ordering things that meet requests better than perhaps what I've done for this evening. Again, remember the Chancellor Search meeting on Friday, October 11th. That's my good of the order. Anything else?
Oh, I do have one real quick thing.
Yeah.
So thank you, Emily, again for reading last week. I know that at the end of my announcements last week, I mentioned that I also have an assistantship with the Office of Associate Chancellor for Diversity, and I do some of the diversity and inclusion trainings across campus. I did, I think, ask for feedback if there's any feedback that you had. I know that Emily mentioned a couple of you might have had feedback, so I'm here now. So if I have hopefully maybe like 2 minutes if anyone has feedback on any presentations that you're interested in us creating. Again, I do have some that I've already created to other institutions, so maybe what you're going to say is something I already have something presented on or created. So any ideas or feedback? Because I know that we've seen some of those flyers maybe out, and I've mentioned them a little bit before as well. So any thoughts? Yeah.
I don't know if that really mentioned that I can repeat that. So what I was saying is we can have like multiple sessions of the same training. For example, if we have like the cultural
appropriation.
Yes. So if we can have it like 2 to 3 times a month at 2 to 3 different times, like in morning, afternoon, evening, if it's possible. So people cannot attend like morning or afternoon, they can attend evening or vice versa. And also, I don't know if we can go and create like level 4 of that diversity training with even like more or deeper topics or like topics that we need to discuss deeper. So I would love to see if that's possible.
For sure. And also, as a note, so this is only the second year this type of program has existed with the assistantships. The first year was all levels created. So level 1 was like a basic, like, let's get on the same page about these terms. Level 2 was more like an allyship, where similar to if you've ever done like a safe zone training, but it was allyship as a greater whole. And then now the level 3 was supposed to be like more specific topics. We've kind of changed that because I come from a training background as well, and I didn't necessarily think that we were being as open as we could to topics that were at a deeper level, because the levels assumed that people didn't have a previous knowledge, and some people do have previous knowledge of different topics. So if you have ideas for level 4 or just general topics that you want to go more in depth, then I'll take those too, because currently we're making all of the trainings open. So you can go to any of them, you don't have to have been already going to like level 1 or level 2. Oh, yeah. So we changed it because it felt like people should be able to go to a topic if it was interesting. Yeah. Any other feedback? Just want to make sure I get that so I can take it back and make sure I'm doing what you've asked.
Well, that's something you continue to follow up on.
I was actually about to be like, I counted to 10 and no one said anything. So I'm good. If you have additional feedback, just let me know. I just want to make sure that I got it if you had said it last time. So thank you very, very much.
All right. The last thing before we adjourn for the evening, so the next council meeting is scheduled for October 22nd. It's 7:30, same room. We are working to schedule a presentation with the Student Affairs Division that addresses some of the issues in the transition process and the new details of our student health insurance policy. And so one of the things with that is we've also been trying to incorporate our undergraduate student government partners as part of this. But we're wondering, as a part of that presentation with the council agenda that evening, and potentially some sort of something before the meeting actually comes to order itself, whether or not we might want to consider moving the start time up from 7:30, so that we have a little bit more time for that presentation, or whether we're okay with the start time there at 7:30.
So for example, would you rather that start time be 7:15 for that meeting, so that way we can leave more at a time period we're at 9 o'clock as we usually do? Does that make sense? People show up at 7:15, it's the question. Nods are happening, I've seen nods. I don't have my glasses on, so I actually not.
I got you.
All right. Well, I'll advise this to the start time of the meeting. If we change it, if that's an issue, we can talk about it after the meeting itself. Yeah, we'll be all right for start time. Seeing nothing further, noting the potential change in start time for our next meeting, October 22nd. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Ready to go.
Any opposed? Seeing none opposed, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
I know.